So while we're limping toward the end of the week, let's find out what trades have been all the rage on the nabtrade platform this week with Gemma Dale. Gemma, good morning to you. Yep, fast forwarding
it's
through
Friday,
this Friday.
But maybe not that far into Friday.
No. So was it a big buy week, a big sell week? What was the mood?
The limping analogy is probably quite accurate. Our guys are they're very reluctant to move at the moment unless there's something to really get excited about. It's that Michael Burry comment's quite fascinating. And I think a lot of our guys are feeling that. They're feeling that we have a long way to go. I mean, Australia's only down 10%. Embarrassing. I recorded yesterday at 3 o'clock and said we're not in a technical correction. By 4 o'clock we were, so that was fun. And our guys are feeling that. They're feeling like we've held up relatively well on a global basis. Maybe there's more pain to come. So you can see them being quite reserved in what they're trading. The big names now have changed a little bit. It was always Fortescue way out in front. It's come back. The iron ore trade's not as much fun as it used to be, clearly. BHP's in there and Westpac. So those three are the most actively traded. Westpac's been coming up for about 18 months now. It just seems to be the favourite of the banks. They still love picking up the banks on weakness, and there's been plenty of weakness to pick them up at. But it's hard to see people getting excited in this environment. A lot of our guys have been around long enough to see this before.
Yeah, so the volume's just moderate.
Yeah. Very moderate.
Gold space, it's been horrible.
Yeah.
To be brutally honest, it's not done well at all. Particularly the listed gold miners here locally, hitting fresh multi-year lows this week. What's going on there? Are we seeing anyone willing to go and step in and buy the dip, or just avoid?
It's so interesting, isn't it? I mean, theoretically, gold's the one thing that holds up when everything else goes to pieces, and you're talking about bond markets, and you're talking about equity markets, and there's been a lot of pain in the last 6 months. You think if you're a gold bug, this is your time to shine. Then again, they said the same thing about Bitcoin. So, there just hasn't been that opportunity to take some wins in a tiny part of your portfolio. We saw gold ETFs getting bought a little while back, which was interesting. Evolution got absolutely hammered on Monday with
really
those
bad.
terrible production numbers.
And then broker downgrades coming off the back of that.
Yeah, it's a terrible week for those guys. We did see some buying, so that's quite interesting. Our guys were willing to take a position in it. Not huge buying, but some enough, up in the numbers.
Okay. Now, where else are we seeing, I guess, volatility? So lithium miners, we had some news out. We had big investments being made by Pilbara, by Liontown Resources as well. Did we see any buying in those names?
Look, they're the one area that people are happy to have a play, and they have been having a play for, say, 12 months now, right? You've got your specky part of your portfolio. It's a great long-term growth story for a lot of people, even though they got smashed a few weeks ago. They quite like that, right? They weren't super happy buying them up 300% and 400%, so if they could buy them up only 150%, that'll be all right over 12 months. So Pilbara's in there, Liontown and Lake Resources in there. Lake Resources is interesting, right? They had some really bad news 2 seconds after they joined the S&P 500.
Sure.
Oh, sorry, the 200, not the 500, God. And so it's been interesting. They're happy to take a little punt in those corners of the market, but it's a tricky place to play too.
Yeah, it is. Look, where else are you seeing interest? I mean, you mentioned gold ETFs were sort of in focus. That's not happening now. So is there any, ETF in particular?
Yeah, this is really interesting. I've been told before, and it's completely fair when we talk about the market, you're not representing what's happening in people's portfolios. When we look at what our investors hold, so many of them are like massively overweight financials or massively overweight materials. So they don't get the performance of the 200, right? They get a very, very different kind of performance. Energy was up 25% and tech was down 40 over the last 12 months. So, your mix is going to be really different. However, we have just seen ASX 200 ETFs bought and bought and bought over the last 12 months. They're now in the top 10, just one of them. And when you aggregate all the providers, you see more and more value sitting there. They have been bought through all of this weakness. So when I talk about the 200, it's actually quite material for a lot of people. That is what they hold. And they're just buying ETFs as a way to take a position. And we see them consistently buying that through every down day. So we did see that yesterday. We have seen that right through the last few months. People love them. They do buy them.
Michael Burry's getting bearish. A lot of people are getting bearish about earnings and talking about the next leg lower, which brings me to strong bear ETF. Magnitude falls, of course, when the market goes down. What are we seeing on that front of the moment? Is anyone looking to go and speculate or actually hedge their portfolio at this point?
Yeah, super interesting. We always you feel the tension rising when BBOS pops into your numbers. So we do have a handful of investors and a handful of traders who will buy that particular product. As you say, like, it magnifies everything. You will feel it one way or the other. But BBOS is in there again. So clearly we have some people who want a position that will protect them on the downside and give them something happening in their portfolio if it's starting to slide.
And how about what's happening with international shareholdings?
Yeah, this one is where it's most apparent that people are nervous. That has been a continuous buy, right? When people go offshore, they just buy. We've never seen active trading, really. We've never seen big portfolio moves. People just take a position in something and hold it. Mostly Tesla, let's be honest. But they used to do it in Apple. Now it was Tesla. Suddenly we're starting to see a lot of trimming and very small trade sizes, but trimming right across the board very consistently. It's been happening for about a month now. I thought it was anomalous, but it seems to be happening consistently. People trimming down those positions going, I don't need to hold this anymore.
It's so fascinating, Gemma. It really is an insight into how real people, are feeling about what's going on out there. So we thank you, as always. Gemma Dale there. Have a good weekend from nabtrade.